Becoming middle-brained with FileMaker 14. Okay, these are the logos of the members in the consortium, and we're presenting today from IT Solutions. So scientists, mathematicians, programmers, these people are often referred to as left-brain people. Right-brain people, on the other hand, are considered to be artistic and visual. They use color and sound to convey meaning. They're considered more passionate and fun. Well, for me, the FileMaker platform, and most specifically FileMaker 14, blends all of these attributes, allowing us to be balanced and embracing both our left and our right brains, essentially making us middle-brained. So maybe I'm being silly coining a new phrase, but I think it really conveys the strength of this new version. Let's look at some of the new features, and you can decide for yourself. So just over a month ago, FileMaker 14 was released. And since then, FileMaker's been doing lots of presentations to showcase the new features. They've been at user groups and Apple stores, and they put together a demo file that they call Grab Bag 14 to showcase some of those features. So you might see some screenshots from their demo file in this presentation. I hope you've had an opportunity to see one of those demos and play with the file. If not, we're going to do a quick overview of all the features and try to make the file available to you later on the FM Academy website so that you can look at that. We're not going to go through all of these features in detail, but let's list the highlights of what's been added and changed. First off, in-field labels, yay. This means that placeholder data is attached directly to the field. No more tricks of overlapping a text object and using conditional formatting to show or hide that text when somebody wants to enter something in a field. So now you can actually apply the placeholder and tell it how you want it to behave. Object styling lets you control things like the fill in a radio button, or whether the mark in a checkbox is an X or actually a check mark. There are iOS improvements as well that let you control the orientation of the solution when the device is rotated, and that let you decide whether the keyboard should pop up automatically or not when you tap in a field. The new insert from device is really cool when you choose signature. You now get a dialog allowing you to specify a title for the signature page as well as some descriptive text and a prompt under the signature line. You know, so maybe you would put the name of the person and their title of who's supposed to sign. So then when you tap on the signature on an iOS device, you have a screen similar to what you're seeing over here that makes sense now to the user, and you really can clearly understand what you're signing. Another noticeable change is the Launch Center when you open FileMaker. There are square icons that represent your recents and your favorites and your hosted files, and you can change those icons and customize them and organize them however it makes sense for you. WebDirect has been overhauled, and FileMaker is reporting a 25% or greater performance improvement over the first iteration. And now with mobile browser support, even though Go only runs on iOS devices, users with other phones and tablets can now utilize FileMaker via WebDirect. There have also been enhancements to server and security. FileMaker Pro now attempts to automatically reconnect to the server if the connection is interrupted. That's something Go has been doing, but with FileMaker, you'd get that communication is interrupted. Now it will try to reconnect if it can. There are password strength indicators and a recovery pin to encourage better security when you're setting up user accounts. And the new standby server allows you to essentially mirror your server and almost seamlessly switch over to the secondary server if the primary one fails. that's a lot of good stuff, but now we're going to focus on the areas that I think work together well to help us become middle-brained. First one I want to mention is the Script Workspace, and I'm just going to briefly mention these few, and then we'll actually go under the hood and look at them and play with them. Okay, so yikes. The first time I saw the Script Workspace, it was scary and exciting all at the same time. Everything is all in one window. We no longer have to go to the script menu, choose Manage Scripts, scroll through that window, double-click on the one we want to look at. It opens in yet another window. Now we go to the script menu, we choose Script Workspace, and voila, we're ready to go. One nice big window. Now the biggest challenge, I think, the hardest thing to get used to, is that on the left-hand side, you're seeing the list of scripts that are in your solution. What we used to see in the Manage Scripts dialog box is now the left side of this three-part window. We're used to seeing our script steps over there. Takes a little getting used to, but once you've done it for a few days or weeks, you're completely happy. Now the script steps are all the way over on the right, and they're still grouped by categories, and you can expand and collapse those categories. And then in the middle of the Script Workspace, you actually can view or edit the content of a script. And you can have multiple scripts open at the same time in a tabbed interface. So in that screenshot that should be on the slide you're looking at now, I know it's hard to read in the screenshot. We'll get into it in the system, but the blue highlighted half tab there is indicating which script is actively being viewed. And there are two scripts being viewed right now, or being open right now. One is being viewed. In all areas of the Script Workspace, you can type ahead for things. So you start typing what you want, and it's jumping to the best choice, and you hit return and keep going. Really nice and slick. Color is automatic in here now. So, your if statements have color coordinating, so you can visually see if you've got your end if when you put an if. There's automatic indenting. It just feels more like real programming. The next feature I want to talk about are the navigation parts. We've had headers and footers and body parts and sub-summaries and so on. We're all used to that in our solutions, but now we have a top navigation and a bottom navigation area. And they are really what they say. They are designed for navigation to help you make solutions that work seamlessly like a standalone application. The top and bottom parts are constant. So even if you zoom the screen, whatever is in that navigation area stays exactly where it is. So if you need to zoom in on something because the point size is too small, your buttons didn't all of a sudden get big and move off the screen because you zoomed. Your buttons in your navigation, your top navigation and bottom navigation, are right where they always were. Those parts also do not print because there's really no reason for them to. They're a user interface object that really makes the software seamless. And probably my favorite feature are the button bars. Now, a button bar can be a button of one, or it can have many. And in the screen sample there are 5 buttons: Home, Invoice, List, Share, and Print. In all earlier versions of FileMaker, those would be actually 10 objects that you'd see to make what you see there now, because you'd have 5 buttons, and then you'd probably have 5 icons that you set on top of those buttons. Because, until now, it wasn't so easy to just make it all happen. Now, it's one object with segments. and each segment can be formatted differently. So you can have icons on some, just text, or both. And it can be different on the different segments of the button bar. If a segment is hidden from the button bar, the remaining ones that are displayed redistribute evenly. So when you plan your layouts, you plan your button bar for the kind of greatest common denominator, and then anything that needs to disappear, you still use that same space, but the buttons reposition beautifully all by themselves. Okay, that's kind of the 10-cent overview of the new features to FileMaker. Now I want to take you through a program that we developed in FileMaker 12, and it was upgraded to 13. And now I want to show you how much easier it would have been to design and how much better it looks and feels implementing it with FileMaker 14. All right, let's see. I'm going to jump over here and start by looking at the left side. So I've got my before file and my after file. And they don't look hugely different, but the work it would go into building them is very different. So on the left here is my original file, and this is the starting menu of a solution that let people basically inventory equipment. So there's an equipment list, and then they have projects where they go out and they survey the rooms to know what equipment they have in each room. Okay, we're not going to get into the details of the project, but this was a starting menu, and there were basically two buttons. You could go look at or manage your equipment, or you could go work on a project. Okay. To create this center area that has these buttons, this is 4 objects, because we have the 2 buttons and then the 2 graphic elements just to try to make sense of those buttons. And then down here we also have the gear icon, which brings up a popover, and it has 2 button choices in there. So in there we have settings and logout choices. I'm going to jump over to settings for a minute. This is how we used to incorporate images into a solution with our buttons. I went out and found all the icons I liked, and I put them into global fields so that I could use them throughout my solution. So this is just a settings file with all these lovely icons. And if you notice, they look very similar to the ones that are shipping with FileMaker 14 now. But we don't have to go through all of this anymore to be able to make our buttons look really nice and make sense. All right, now I'm going to jump over to the new solution, the FileMaker 14 version. I'm going to make this more central so we can play with it. And I'm going to go into layout mode to show you what was 4 objects on the other file is now 1 object here. Okay, I grab this and I drag it around. This is 1 object. This is a button bar. Okay, and this button bar has 2 buttons with it. So when I double click, I get my button bar set up, and I have a choice of horizontal or vertical for how my buttons are displayed, so I can quickly make a decision which way they're going to go. And then I have 6 choices for how the segments appear in the buttons. I can tell it I just want text. I can have it just have an icon. I can have it an icon with text below, text above an icon. You get the idea. Icon on the right or the left. Okay? And then for each of the segments, I can decide which icon I want to use. So I'm going to look at the project list segment. And it's got the title here, and it's got, I'm going to make this my icon. So notice you can see, because I was playing with it, it changed from what I originally had, but there are two different icons here. Now I'm going to look at equipment list. I happen to want the same icon for this particular screen. Okay. And then each of these buttons has a choice of what we do with it. Okay. It can be a button or a popover. In this case, I want them both to be buttons. And right now I have equipment list highlighted. So it is performing a script, and it's the navigate script with my equipment list parameter. And if I look at project list, it is my navigate script with my project list parameter. Okay. So again, what was 4 objects over in the old file is now 1 object in the new file, and looks nice and neat and organized. And then down here, the gear icon, I changed this to a button bar of 1. I have 1 of 1 here, so the gear icon is a button bar, but I chose this to be a popover button. And then within that popover, I was able to put another button bar to give me those 2 buttons that I wanted. So we have 1 button bar, 2 button bars, 3 button bars. So 3 objects here to do all the work that over here was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 objects over here. So FileMaker 14 really is doing a nice job of making it quick and easy for us to make things that look really good and very nice and functional. Okay, those are my button bars. Not going to save that. Next thing I want to talk about is the navigation part that I mentioned. Let me actually go to equipment list. It has a little bit to play with. So, you know, this is just a normal kind of layout, a list view layout that you would have. And here are actually more button bars. I love button bars. That's my new favorite thing. So I've got those objects here as well, but I'm also going to mention the navigation part. Notice if I zoom in to this screen, I clicked once, I'm at 150%, and my top navigation area did not blink at all, not a single pixel out of place. I'm going to click it again at the 200. Again, every button is still where it was. Now I can barely see my equipment column, it's off the screen because I'm zooming, but that navigation didn't move. Now it does respect anchoring, however, so if I resize my window and I've got that button bar set to anchor to the right, it's moving properly with it, but it's not zooming in and out. So this allows us, particularly if you're designing things that are going to be on an iPad, you can have it, you know, designed for your smallest space, and it will expand when you rotate, but it won't zoom out of view so that your users can no longer find the buttons that they need to push. All right. Just a quick little comparison again. This was the equipment list view in the previous version, and it had various buttons as well, each one a separate object with my global container tricks and so on to show my images. Now in the 14 version, there's a single button bar here with my objects. I've got a search button, I've got an add new equipment button, and then I've got a more options button. This one happens to be a popover instead of just a clickable button. So when I choose this, then I have more options as well. In this case, I put the creation and modification information in here so that, you know, you could see that information about the records without having to use up real estate on the screen. And things like delete that you don't want people to accidentally do are tucked away in here, because then you can, you know, kind of double and triple check you really want to do this before you delete a record. Okay, if I click find, I'm now in find mode, And in this case, I've written the script so that if I click it again and I'm already in find mode, it performs the find. I didn't search for anything, so it's yelling at me. If I add something, it takes me to my detail screen and gives me a new record ready for me to type in whatever I want to pick. Now, I'm going to go back to our 100% view so it's a little easier to follow and makes more sense. A cool thing that I mentioned in the FileMaker features that I'm not going to spend much time on, but just to show you, I love this, that now with checkboxes we can actually tell it, make that a checkbox, not just an X, and we can control what color it is. Love that. Okay, the other thing you might have noticed when I jumped from my list view to my detail view, let me go back. Here we go. From list to detail, my number of buttons changed. I have 3 here, and when I'm on the detail, I have 4. Okay. If we go into layout mode, we'll see there are a different number of buttons, but it's a copy of the same button bar on both screens. Now notice I just went into search, into find on the detail screen, and another button appeared that I didn't want to be there. So I'm going to cancel out of here and go take a look at what's going on. So I actually have a button bar that has 5 buttons on it. But I've got this 5th button designed, it's a close button. But I only want that to work if I'm on a survey, not on my equipment or project records. So it says hide object when basically the table I'm on does not equal survey. If I was on survey, I'd want to see it. But I forgot to tell it apply in find mode. Okay, so when I was in browse, it wasn't showing, but as soon as I went into find, it appeared. So make sure when you're using hide object when that you control whether or not it should appear in find mode. Okay, so in browse mode, we saw 4 buttons on the detail screen. On the list, we only saw 3, but if we jump over and we look at that list view, it has those same 5 buttons. Okay, it is not the same button bar. You do have to put a separate button bar on each layout. But if you design your solution well and you really think about how you want that to work and build for the highest number that you're going to need and use that maximum space, then the rest of it just flows naturally. You're literally copying and pasting this from one screen to the next, and it just works however it needs to on each screen. Okay, so let's go back into browse mode, and you can see on this layout I already had that one button hidden in find mode, but now if I go back to detail and I search, I'm still seeing just my 4 buttons. So it doesn't kind of shock the user that my buttons changed when I changed mode. All right. Navigation part we talked about, button bars we talked about. So the next big thing is the Script Workspace. And it's the real big thing. Because if you've been designing FileMaker databases for any amount of time, in my case it's 25 years, but some people are new to it, some people have been doing it for a really long time, some longer than me, but some things have been very standard throughout the years and some things have changed, but we've kind of gotten used to the Manage Scripts window. And now that's basically what you're seeing in this area on the left. This used to be your Manage Scripts dialog box. And it has folders. And it has, actually you can see one there, it has separators. You can still rearrange things. But instead of it floating in its own window or dialog box somewhere, it's in here on the left. You can start searching for something, and it filters the list. to help you find what you want. You don't have to be in search, though, to jump to what you want. You know, if you start typing, it's just going to jump if it can find what you're looking for. So type ahead works seamlessly right in here and helps you filter those things. There is an icon up here that toggles the checkbox area on and off, so you can see and control which scripts appear under the script menu for your users. Okay, but it's nice that you can toggle that off so it's out of the way and you don't really need to worry about it unless you need to worry about it. There's an icon here that will insert a separator into the script list. So wherever you are, when you click it, the next thing, it's just going to put a separator in there. Okay. Now these are no longer scripts like they used to be. So when I click on it, I'm not seeing the contents of it, basically an empty script over here. I can't control anything about it. It just really now literally is a separator to help you visually organize. And I'm just going to delete it. Now it does call it a script. It doesn't actually say, do you want to delete this separator? Maybe FileMaker will fix that someday. But still, it's very nice to be able to organize that way. And then if you hit the plus sign for the folder, it does exactly what you expect. It creates a new folder. Hopefully you can see that down at the bottom left corner of the screen, because it put the new folder at the bottom there. Okay. On the right, you have all the script steps that you used to see. Actually, I'm going to close the script we're viewing for a moment. This area is blank unless you're working on a script. Okay, so let me go back and click on a script. Once I do, the center area shows you the contents of the script. It's not currently active, it's just being displayed. And over on the right, I can see the script steps, or I can toggle them on and off using the icon at the top here. I can also toggle the list of scripts on and off when I'm working as well. So it's very customizable and lets you work in a way that makes sense for you. Back to mentioning the scripts. Okay, when I am over on the left in the script list, I'm using my arrow key, not my cursor. You can see my mouse isn't moving. The arrow's still sitting down there. But different scripts are being highlighted, and the script steps in the middle, the actual script code, is changing based on what I'm looking at. As soon as I hit the Enter key, that becomes an active script, and that script is now, the title of it is highlighted in blue, which is an indicator to me that this script now is being edited or able to be edited. So now I'm using my arrow key, and I'm just arrowing through the steps of this script. And I could come in here and I could hit my Enter key, and I could say I want to set another variable. And I just start typing, and if you notice, it automatically is filling in as I type. And then in a step like this, where there are more options you can set, you can just type it, and in it goes. You can put comments. Now there are blank rows, numbered as you can see, and there are comments. Comments are by default in green, and they all start with, the pound character or hashtag, if you like to call it that. You can literally click on a row and hit your delete key to make it go away, whether it's a blank row or whether it is a script step. Now, that's not undoable. I just deleted that, and undo is not showing there. So, you don't want to sit here and just hit delete, delete, delete unless you want to delete a bunch of rows, which you certainly can do. But it's really very keyboard-based now, and you could literally start from scratch and just type away. And it knows that this is my first row. And Shift-3, which is the pound sign or hashtag character, we'll let you put a comment in, and then you can, just go to the next row, set variable, and whoops. Now this, unfortunately, in this dialog, there is not the type ahead, but baby steps, as I've been told, every time I say, well, this is awesome, but can we do this? So we can start typing, we can say if, and I can say 1 equals 2, and let's see, I could bring this up and, here's my new calculation dialog here. So you've got all of your table occurrences and all of your fields for whatever the selected table occurrence is. If you start to type, whoops, let me come into this section. As you see, as soon as I start to type, it's showing me the various tables that I can choose from. And then once I select which table occurrence I want, it lets me filter through the fields. Okay, so very, very intuitive, very, very cool. Saving your script, you can see when it's blue, there's an asterisk next to the script name. Now I can jump over and look at the source equipment. There's an asterisk there too, so I must have made some changes. If I click the X on any of the open scripts, it gives me my option to save. I can still use the Save Script menu command or the Control S. That works well. If there are no scripts highlighted, this workspace area is just blank until you create a new script and start adding some more steps. Let's see. Those are the
Hey, Beth.
Big, yes?
I have one comment. Is it possible to increase the font size or screen real estate so that this is more visible over the webinar? I think actually it's a comment specifically about the Script Workspace, whether or not you can increase the font size, but yeah, I'll leave it to interpret it either way you want.
Right. That's a good question. I don't know of a zoom function in here. We don't have the familiar tool like we have down here to be able to zoom our database.
I think the answer is no within the Script Workspace. But is there any way for you to zoom in the webinar?
I'm trying to remember the
May not
keyboard
be
shortcut on a Mac to do that, but
okay. For those people who are having issues seeing the screen, your webinar may be set to scale to fit, which on my monitor sets it to 66%, which makes it hard to read. If you set it to actual size, you will, not see the entire window, but you will be able to see it in readable fashion. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I have a comment saying yes. And I guess Deborah's original question was within FileMaker. So I think within that context, we don't really have an answer to that. So, all right,
right.
Carry on.
Sure, no problem. And also, for anybody who is having a hard time seeing, we are recording this webinar, and it will be, I think, on our YouTube channel or on our website. So if you watch it later, perhaps you'll be able to control the Zoom when you see it there, I hope. And we're almost done going through the basic features, and then we'll get to some questions. Okay, debugging. You can actually debug a script right from within the Script Workspace. If you noticed, I was on the opening script when I hit the little bug icon, and so it instantly started going into the debugger. So that's a nice thing. I don't have to kind of go somewhere else and run through. It's I can just get it started right from there. I'm going to close that, and I want to point out a couple of things for you under the View menu. In your compatibility, you have that choice here to show what script steps, and I think, yeah, that icon over here as well. So when you want to look at what steps are compatible with different versions, you can control that through this icon if you want to be sure that you're developing something that will work on a particular platform. Also, comments. In order to, excuse me, not comments, disabling script steps. If you're using Pro Advanced and you're able to disable script steps, there is an option under the Edit menu. If you're on a row that's currently disabled, which I am, I'm on row 30, and I love that I can say too I'm on row 30, and if you can see row 30, you know right where I am. If it's disabled, it's a toggle, so that'll be enable, and if it's enabled, then I can disable it. Now, it does not intuitively say, if you've got an if statement that you enable or disable, it does not know where the partner is and do both of them automatically. So in this case, I had this little if statement in here as an example for you. I enabled the if statement, but end if is still disabled. So I would have to enable that separately. Now, you can still shift-click multiple rows and do them at the same time. And there's a keyboard shortcut. The command // key will toggle between the enabling and disabling. So the more familiar you get with the keyboard shortcuts, you really can do a lot of quick just typing your scripts in this version. And the other thing to point out, syntax coloring. That's what I wanted to show you. There are 5 categories that they've grouped things into: script flow, disabled, incompatible, comments, and table fields. Okay, so you can hopefully see in the script behind this little pop-up. We've got some comments in there. We've got things like set error capture and if statements. Those are script flow. We have some disabled code in there, or we did, and you could see when I was toggling back and forth that was gray. Disabled and incompatible are set to the same color right now. I could change this if I wanted to, and maybe make incompatible red and say okay. And then if I come up here and let's see if I have any script steps that are incompatible with anything. Of course, I don't have any incompatible steps at the moment. So let's switch it to we'll disable those, and instead, with syntax coloring, you also can quickly hit reset and put it back to their defaults. So in this case, I'm going to make the disabled steps red. And there you can see the rows that I had disabled have now turned red. So the coloring, it can be a really nice way to help organize things as well. And you can, in your script steps over here, you can expand and collapse the groups. So you're seeing, as much or as little as you want. And the really cool thing about these script steps is when you click on a script step, down at the bottom, it gives you a little description. Okay, I clicked on end loop, so it's telling me marks the end of a loop script structure. Okay, that one's pretty self-explanatory, but there are plenty of script steps in FileMaker that could be confusing, and it's a nice way to be able to see what it is without having to go searching through other help. Okay, looking at the window, I think at this point we will turn things over for questions.
Okay. All right, so I have a couple questions in the queue here that we can kind of go through. If anybody who's connected right now wants to pose anything else, you can go ahead and do that now. And I see a couple coming in. And we'll just go through them in order until we run out of time or interest. I guess the first question we kind of already answered from one of our viewers about zooming the Script Workspace window or the font size. I confirmed that offline. I don't see any tools to do that. There is another question here it's a question specifically, it's not directly related to your presentation, but I'll go ahead and answer it because we only had 4 or 5 questions in here. Do you have you deployed version 14 with customers? If yes, are there any things to be aware of, server stability, etc.? Beth, if you want to answer that, or I can.
Actually, I am working on a 14 solution right now, but it is not yet deployed. So if you want to give any other response to that, Colin, feel free.
Yeah, so we've done some 14 installations. We haven't had any problems with doing the install. That said, I think FileMaker server installs, there are a lot of different platforms that you can install on, not all of them fully supported, and you can sometimes run into issues when you install on a platform that hasn't been fully tested for that version. So I would check the 14 specifications for server before attempting it. So. Next question, script step coloring. Do the colors apply only to your local system? Or if you're pointed at the server, are they available to all server users? So this is in the Script Workspace, the syntax coloring.
And that's a good question. I have to assume that that is local, but
I would agree with
you. We could.
Yeah. We don't know the answer. I think it's the
We don't know that answer.
Yeah.
But what we will do is find out and post that with the notes.
Yeah.
Because we can answer questions on the notes on the website after.
Okay. We actually have people are really posting a bunch of questions now. So we now have about 10 in the queue. Here, I'll just try to get through them quick. Any changes to the custom function window or functionality?
Let's take a look. There was nothing documented as far as, in the list of new features.
I think the answer is no as well.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure. And my particular solution that I have up, I don't even have any custom functions in this one. But I do not believe there were any changes to custom functions.
All right, moving all the way through these in random order. What about the favorites category of script step? So in this Script Workspace, there's the favorites section on the upper right, I believe. I'm not sure if the question is what does it do, or can we talk about it? I think all it is you mark script steps as favorite and they show up there so that you can use them frequently. Do you know anything else about it?
No, that's pretty much it. I did not look to see if it has built this list based on my scripts or whether these 4 were the defaults that came with it.
Oh, right.
I'm not really a favorites user even in my browsers, but I'm not saying that I couldn't be with this, but let's look. I've highlighted go to object, and I believe all I have to do is hit this star at the top, and now go to object is now in my list.
Yep.
And let me come down and pick, editing, and let's pick, I can only do one. I can't shift click, so I'll pick copy, and then I'll pick paste. So I've that quickly come up here and created, the ones that I'm using regularly. And then I can just as easily click on them and remove them from the favorites as well. Okay. And I'm right-clicking right now, so when I right-click, it will actually let me insert into the script wherever my cursor is, or at the very end, I guess, if nothing is highlighted at the time. And what else can we do? Remove it from the favorites and look up in documentation, which is another nice thing. We talked about the description is showing down here of what that step does, but oftentimes, there are examples and more detail. So you can hit look up in documentation, and that will actually go out to FileMaker's help and show you the results, the detailed help for that particular item. So that's,
okay.
They're really designed to keep you in here and keep you working.
All right, so I'm going to keep slamming through these. So we have a question about the grab bag file, whether or not it's available now. The answer is we are not ready to post it to the FM Academy website. We need to talk to FileMaker to make sure that is okay to do. But they have given us authority to the user groups essentially to distribute to people in user groups and so on. So if you contact Beth or myself, Colin, offline via email, I think we can forward something to you. I don't know, Beth, if you posted your
I'm just going to show very quickly, this is the grab bag file, and it's just nice. This is a button bar illustrating how it works, and with each one you have, sometimes slide objects with multiple options. So it's just a nice, quick little overview of the various features, and it's open. You can go into layout and look at how everything's set up. Yeah, so
okay,
contact us.
Cool. Yeah, you know what, the person who asked that question, I'll send you my contact info in privately, and you can follow up. And for everybody else, it'll be posted sometime soon, hopefully. I have a question here. Can you show us how to open the button inspector and all the images that are predefined? Somebody actually posted a link. It's on the FMBurg website if you want to get that file under the download section, fmburgh.com. So the question is, can you show us how to open the button inspector and all the images I'm trying to figure out what the rest of it are predefined to put on a label, or can we add more from outside? What is the
hold on.
question?
You can add more. Let me go into layout mode here. And let's just edit this button bar. Okay. In this button bar, this whole area here, these are all the icons that are just shipped directly with FileMaker 14 right now. Okay. And it's nice too, because if you are looking at my magnifying glass icon that's up in the button bar, I have that set to 24 points. I'm going to, zoom in.
I think
you can see that's changing.
Can you import an image from outside, like a PNG
Yes.
file? And the answer is yes.
Yes. And right here, you've got a plus sign, and that brings up a familiar insert picture dialog, and you can pick an image. Now, I don't have any icons here, so it's going to look really weird, but I just picked a file and I inserted it, and now it will show up in here. I think it's probably too big, or maybe the way that it's formatted, it doesn't show up right. Because I did this earlier, actually, but it was a much smaller file. Oh, no, look at, I'm clueless. It's already put into the button there. It put it at the top, not the bottom. I was looking for it at the top, or at the bottom. So yeah, it did put that image in there. So design your image well and use SVG format. You want the vector so that it is fully scalable when you do this. But yes, pop it in there, exactly. and then you can delete as well.
Okay, moving through some of these. How do previous client versions deal with new features, i.e. button bars, navigation parts, etc.? I will say, I'll just go ahead and answer this one to give Beth a little breathing space. In earlier versions, if you implement a feature like button bars in a FileMaker file using FileMaker 14 and you open that up in FileMaker 13, the default behavior for displaying layout objects that aren't supported by previous versions is to put like a big X box, a big strikeout zone where that feature is. It just doesn't know how to interpret the CSS or whatever's going on in the background. So that feature will not work. However, you still will be able to open the file and so on. In terms of having double layouts for various versions, you could do that. I would recommend trying to consolidate on a single version for all clients, just so you don't have to deal with that development problem. Just kind of nip it in the bud. Let's see. Why in the Script Workspace is the set field script step? Why in the script space the set field script only colors the first table field instance and not the second one? I don't know. I'm going to leave that one to answer later because I feel like we would spend a little time trying to figure out where the question came from. Any issues?
Oh, I think I understand the question and the answer. I think they may be talking about why in set field here is this part purple, if that's the question. A field. Are you still able to hear me?
You cut out just for a second there.
Okay, sorry, I had a weird message come into my headset. Anyway, that is a field. So if we look quickly at the syntax coloring, that is a table field marker. So that's why the demo .g logo is purple and the second part is not, because in that case, this denotes the actual field. And the second part of that is the calculation. So the field itself is colored, the calculation is not. And you can use a field as the calculation. So hope that answers the question.
Okay, great, thank you. Any issues with backwards compatibility? We talked about that separately. Let's see. In other words, when the text labels are different lengths, alignment is not. I think this is a follow-up to a previous question having to do with the button bar. Let's see. I don't know if I can it's a little bit too much granular to get in 2 minutes. So whatever we don't answer, we will try to answer after the fact and post to the blog. Let's see. Moving on. I used to mark a script. This is a good one. I used to mark a script step with a red break arrow when I needed to find it quickly when debugging. Any way to visually do the same in FileMaker 14? So breakpoints. How are breakpoints implemented in the Script Workspace? Do we still have them?
Yep. Can you see? I'm just clicking on the number.
Okay. And does that actually break the script workflow in Debugger? Is that actually a breakpoint or is it a marker?
Oh, let me see here. I'm going to run to the break. I put that at 33, didn't I? Oh, I'm not hitting run to break. I should probably hit run to break. and then we'll see. Ah, see,
and it
is a breakpoint.
It displays it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. So next question, and we're really running out of time here. I just want to note that I posted the link that somebody shared earlier for that grab bag file into the chat window. So if you check your chat, you should see a link, and you can get it there. Let's see. Can you search for a script step within the editing middle window? That's a good question. So searching in a current script within the script.
So if I am in the opening script, I'm up on line 23, and I search for no, because what happens is it starts to type that line in there.
Yeah, you're just editing that line. I don't think there is
right.
People can correct us if we're wrong, but I think there is no search capability within a script.
Correct. There is not yet. Because I actually asked that from Ronnie when I went to his FileMaker presentation.
Okay, we have one more question, and I think we're good. Where will the Script Workspace show the custom functions to select from? This is a question about if we have a list of functions to insert into. Well, this is really the calculation dialog. So if you're in the calculation dialog, where would you? Trying to figure out what the question is here.
Oh, right.
If you're in a calculation dog in the Script Workspace, you've invoked, and now you're, okay, so here you're looking for custom functions. Previously, you had like a little filter where you could say, well, I don't want to look at text. I want to look at just custom functions. And we have a filter for that as well here. Right here.
Hopefully you can see it. So this little chart icon to the right of the search bar in the calculation dialog, custom functions listed there. And as we know, I don't have any, so that's why it disappeared when I chose it. If I bring them back. So that is there. So that was our last question.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We ran about 2 minutes over for those of you who are still with us. Thanks for participating. And we will post a recording of this and any answers to questions that we didn't quite get to the FM Academy website. That's FileMakerAcademy.com. Again, thank you, and have a good day.